Welcome to another episode of Clarity Digital Pod. I'm your host, Sefati, and today we're diving into modern email marketing strategies with Hank Hoffmeier. We'll explore email deliverability, engagement tactics, and the impact of AI on email marketing. Hank brings years of expertise in email validation and deliverability, and he's here to share actionable insights to help you optimize your email campaigns. Let's get started. Hey Hank, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's the end of the week, Friday, right? Can't complain.
I know, happy Friday. Tax season for us.
Yes. Yeah. So it means more to me because, there's a lot going on with that for me this year. And we can get into that later on.
Yeah, it can be a bad thing. If it's going to be busy tax season, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Let's introduce yourself for our audience. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, your professional background.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Hank Hoffmeier. I call myself the digital marketing infotainer. I like to make marketing fun and successful. I work for Kickbox. We're an email validation and email deliverability consultation company. We basically help you make sure your emails are valid before you send to them, which is something a lot of marketers and brands often overlook. It helps with your email deliverability. I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And I love to create content and dabble in real estate a little bit. And I just like helping businesses grow through the use of digital marketing, but first and foremost, email marketing.
I saw your
Kickbox is owned by Ziff Davis, which owns about 70 different brands. And Moz is one of our sister companies. We get to collaborate with them all the time. We have email platforms like iContact, Campaigner, and SMTP. We have a pretty good portfolio of a couple different marketing platforms that people can use.
Yeah, good to know. I didn't know that because I also remember your email to the iContact, so I meant to ask you about that too. So let's get into business. 2025, what's the state of email marketing?
I think email marketing is still as powerful as ever and evolving because a lot of people think that it's either a stagnant channel or it's going to die soon. Every so often you'll see articles saying the death of email marketing, but it's stronger than ever. You still need an email address for a lot of things you do online when you sign up for social accounts and all that. And now there's a lot of privacy changes and there's AI now, which has really could help or hinder what you're doing with email marketing depending on how you use it. I think it's really a strong channel. And with the exodus of TikTok for a little while now I hear it's back in the App Store, which is good. But let's say TikTok shut down and went away forever, right? All those followers that you gained, all those videos you did, they're gone. With email marketing, every email address you get is pretty much something you own and it's affordable. Sure, you might have it in a platform like Constant Contact, MailChimp, or somewhere else, but you can always take that data and move it around and manipulate it. And it's an audience you own that you can have a quasi one-to-one relationship with. You can personalize your emails, you can automate your emails and make it feel like a one-on-one conversation. Advertising, people know they're being advertised to on social media. Like I said, it's rented land. I think email marketing is going to be something that marketers need to double down on or really get involved if you're just getting into business.
You brought up AI, so let's just jump into it. I was going to ask you that later, but how is AI impacting email marketing?
I think first and foremost for folks that struggle to do more email marketing, maybe they rush to their computer on a Friday and just wing it and put an email together and send it out. And that's okay to some extent. You really should strategize and plan out your emails. But now smaller businesses or small marketing teams have the power of going to, say, ChatGPT and doing audience research, doing content manipulation, research generation. Help me devise 10 subject lines for my email and explain what you need. And it'll give you options. It'll include emojis. I always put the caveat in garbage in, garbage out. Don't say, hey, I have an email about Valentine's Day chocolates. Give me 10 subject lines. Obviously, you'll get some that might work. But if you use 4, 5, 6 paragraphs explaining your email, your audience, what you may want, and more importantly, what you don't want, negative prompts, it'll help you get better results and then iterate on that as well. And a lot of people always forget that they can have a conversation with that chatbot okay, these are great. The first 5 are great. Can you give me more like those? And then it will give them to you because it already knows the conversation that happened prior. And a lot of people don't know that. I think it's great for giving strategies for automation, segmentation. I had a talk about using AI recently. And what I did is in my presentation and with the audience, I said, hey, let's launch a hot sauce, Hank's hot sauce, because it was the secrets of email marketing was the title of my talk. And I actually learned some things if I wanted to start, say, a hot sauce company around like that type of audience, what kind of automations might work and what kind of segmentations I should be using for hot sauce. Like maybe treating people that have spice tolerance issues differently than someone that likes really hot sauces. I probably would have known that, but wouldn't have thought of that right away as a marketer. I think AI is going to keep evolving. And right now we're seeing simple AI in a lot of these email tools. It's, oh, help me with the subject lines, help me with the body copy. Automation has been around for a while, and it's really more of if this, then that. Like if somebody opens this email, send them this email. But pretty soon, AI will be a little bit more ingrained into these tools that allow you to do more complex things. I don't really have a lot of examples, but I think it's going to be really cool. And I look forward to testing some of those out when they arrive.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I was having this conversation with a CMO from a healthcare center, and they're like, we want to jump on AI, but because of all the privacy, HIPAA compliance, all that privacy concerns, we can't just buy any tool that we want.
With me, I love playing around with AI, and I'm no expert by any means, but I think I already have the curse of knowledge. I went to a real estate meetup last night, and I bring this. This is just like what's called a Claude Note. It's an AI recorder. I can record meetings and then get transcripts, summaries, etc. I put that on a table, recorded it, brought it back, and then got the summary and the outline and shared it with everybody in a WhatsApp group we're in, and everybody was amazed. But then also we did an exercise. They brought up something like a scenario of somebody wanting to buy a house and what they wanted and what you can afford. I used ChatGPT to give me different scenarios to make an offer because I was sitting alone. You're supposed to do it in groups, and I got picked on it. They were like, well, what'd you come up with? You're all alone. I was like, my buddy Chat and we came up with 3 items and I explained it, and they were like, wow. They're like, I need to learn how to do that. And I'm using custom GPTs. I pay for Chat GPT. I highly encourage that because you can train it on your style, your brand. And always when you go into that custom GPT, when you write, it remembers the instructions you gave it, prior blog posts, prior emails, prior content that you fed it. And it'll always remember those rules and the history you've had with that chatbot. I highly encourage it if you're hesitating and paying for tools like that.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. We use custom GPTs as well. Right now, our usage is more like writing title tag, meta descriptions for websites. What are some of the best for different type of businesses?
This is a huge conversation to unwrap, and I hope I can get it into a nutshell, right? All business types, B2B, B2C, nonprofit, et cetera, they should all be using email marketing. There's a different audience. It also reminds me, I did a product demo / consulting call with a vendor we want to use. They do services and have a platform. And I used their Calendly to sign up for a meeting. But then what I noticed is I started getting emails about webinars and sales emails from them, which is something I didn't sign up for. First and foremost, if you're doing email marketing, you have to do what's called permission-based email marketing. Get permission. Sure, in the US, you can collect an email address from LinkedIn. You can use data enrichment if you want to. And CAN spam, which is the legislation here, only says you need to identify who you are, provide information about how they can unsubscribe, and give them a way to do that. So you can buy a list and you can send to it, not in the EU, or maybe some states here like California. It's a little bit harder to get around that because you can get huge fines for all of that. That's why it's always important to only email people that sign up or say they want emails from you. If I go and get a white paper or a report for someone, they have the checkbox saying, would you like to receive our newsletter? If I check that off, fine, that's great. That's permission. But if I leave it unchecked, please don't email me. Also, getting into the weeds a little bit here, if you start sending to these email addresses that you've just collected, scraped, whatever you want, guessed, got off LinkedIn, didn't get permission, bought an email list from somebody outside a conference hall or something, right? Real cheap. It damages your sender reputation, your IP address, and your domain, and affects your ability to get into the inbox versus the spam folder. Now, that's like a whole nother session that you and I can have, is how to improve your email deliverability. But that is the risk. If I bought a list of 100,000 email subscribers or emails that didn't subscribe to me, and I send them an email, some of them are going to be stale and they're going to bounce. Some are going to see my email and say, I never signed up for this, and they're going to mark it as spam. And some are going to ignore it. All three of those things do negative things to your IP address that you're sending from, whether it's shared or not. That's another thing. And your domain reputation. So HankHoffmeier.com. And if I have a low sender reputation, more and more of my emails are going to go to the spam folder. Sure, I blast out to those 100,000 email addresses. I may make some money off of it, may get some engagement, but I'm doing damage. And if I keep sending to that same list and adding more, I'm doing more and more damage. At some point, it's not worth me doing email marketing anymore. Whereas if you do the right thing, it's like with anything. You always hear Gary Vaynerchuk talk about everybody with digital video creation: provide value, provide entertainment, education, so that people engage with your audience. It's like the algorithm you're saying, like earlier with Facebook, right? If you have good engagement, you provide value, you'll be in the feed more. With email, if you piss off your subscribers, they're going to hurt you. And it's almost like that algorithm, but it's more just inbox placement. That's why if you have a list of people that want your email addresses and then remove people who are disengaged over time and don't want your emails, remove them. It's fine. You can add them back later, right? That's something that's great, is you can always add them back. Now, going back, B2B, you're going to have a lot of business domains. There's a lot of challenges around email deliverability for that. Make sure that you have email authentication set up. If we don't get into the weeds on this, just research SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Kickbox has a lot of great articles about this, or I can talk to you about all of that. But those are things you need to set up on your domain or your IPs to make sure that your emails are received. The recipient server's checking for those items. And then also what's called a list header unsubscribe, which is something that most platforms do. So you'll probably be okay with that. And then your bounce rate needs to be very low. And that's why Kickbox validation is very important. If you have more than, say, 3 per 1,000 emails bounce, it's going to hurt your reputation. So like I said, B2B, especially military, education domains, those are very hard to get into because their servers have strict rules. Then you have B2C, where people are using a lot of free email addresses like Gmail, Yahoo, maybe still AOL. I still have an AOL email address because why? I'm an email marketer, right? Yeah. Those have different rules. What I just mentioned around the authentication is critical for AOL and Yahoo and Microsoft. You have to have that. Otherwise, you will not get into the inbox. And you have nonprofits, right? It's going to be a mix as well. With all of those, you just want to provide education, value, or entertainment and keep people engaged in what you're doing. And a lot of people with everything, right? So as a marketer, I create something. It's my baby. It's the best thing in the world. But is it going to resound with your subscriber base? That's what's important. With nonprofits, you can pull on people's emotional heartstrings, right? Because, hey, we need donations because we're trying to save, we're trying to improve. Give them the behind the scenes into why you're trying to do something. Tell them about your cause. B2B, it's getting their interest and informing them about your product and service so that they show interest. And if they don't, maybe it's not for them or it's not the right time. And then for consumers, shed your product or service in the best light and use video in your email addresses. I want to give a shout out to Lisa Jones. She owns iMail, EYE Mail. Her platform allows you to actually use video and email. A lot of platforms don't let you do that, but her technology does that, and it makes it more engaging. Use animated GIFs, great subject lines, pre-headers, use AI to help you create your emails, do teasing. In our next email, we're going to talk about, to give them a prelude to the next email that's coming, and look for it in their inbox, because you may think you send somebody an email, they're going to see it, but they're getting hundreds of other emails per day. That was a lot to unpack. So hopefully I unpacked that pretty well, but any follow-up questions to that?
No, I guess my only follow-up question would be, is there a cadence on like a regular newsletter emails, or is it just whenever you have stuff, whenever you have valuable stuff that you should send an email out?
That was a dangerous statement because sure, let's say I develop new products or new blogs every 3 days, right? Should I be emailing people every 3 days? It depends on your industry, right? If I'm a retailer and I have really sought after items like hot sauce, I might be able to do 1 or 2 a week. I worked with a client years ago that sold reading glasses. I see you have glasses on. How often do you buy glasses?
These are reading glasses, so I tend to lose them, so pretty often.
Okay, so you're maybe not every 3 months at least, or maybe every 6 months, right?
Yes, probably,
Right.
yes.
But if you have prescription, it might be once a year at
Once
the
a year,
most.
yeah. Yeah.
He was sending an email out every business day, 5 days a week, trying to sell actually reading glasses.
What?
He would have just a bunch of his reading glasses in there. And I spoke to him about that. And I said, you're just basically turning on the faucet and you're making people drown in your emails and they're going to start ignoring them. Sure, they may go back when they need reading glasses, but at that point, Gmail may be punishing you and all that, and you might not have your emails in the inbox. We turned to doing 2 emails a month. One was like staff picks. And then if like Valentine's Day is coming up, if you have red frames, highlight those and talk about Valentine's Day, provide information about how to organically improve your vision. We implemented that strategy and his engagement rate shot through the roof because he did that. Analyze your, it's so funny. Like maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't say this, but use ChatGPT to find out what the perfect frequency might be for the type of industry you're in. If I sell servers, not everyone's going to buy a server every week, but maybe once a month I send out state of the servers or something, some kind of an email talking about something in the industry and then providing some options to purchase. Staples does a good job. They used to actually not do. They used to just send out, but now they're pretty crafty in what they're doing. Yeah, it just depends on what you're doing. If you're a blogger, maybe twice or once a month is pretty good. And then instead of every time you have a blog post shooting out an email, maybe include 3. If you write 3 articles a week, do a newsletter once a week and include links. And then say, in this article, we talk about the top 3 ways to, here's the first one. Want to hear the other 2? Click here, right? And it gets them to go to your website, which then your website should be doing its job and trying to convert on to whatever you're looking for there. But yeah, it just depends on what industry you're in and what you're doing and how your subscribers react. One thing you should always be doing is testing. Almost every platform has a testing tool where you can test one subject line against another, but you can also test out frequency. And around the holidays, many people start sending more emails. Warn your subscribers. Hey, holidays are coming. You know what that means? You're going to want great deals. You may see more emails in your inbox, but it will slow down once the holidays are over. Please forgive us or something like that, right? You can always do that and have fun with it and be human with your audience.
There's also the type of content you send out, right? If you're just sending blog posts, like you said, just every couple of weeks, but let's say if you're B2B, you have a time-sensitive webinar, like a live webinar, then obviously that's different.
Yeah, and then you could set up an automation sequence for that. When somebody signs up, send them an email thanking them for signing up. Remind them a week before, 3 days before, day of, then a follow-up 3 days later saying, thank you, here's the recording. And then maybe 5 days after saying, this is our next webinar or something like that.
What KPIs make a successful organic campaign?
It used to be open rates. Historically, if somebody opened your email, showed engagement, and people read your email and they may have liked it because you can't hit a like button on an email yet, maybe soon. And that was the end all be all. But now platforms like Apple, if you're using Apple's email client, but you're still using Gmail and Yahoo, but if you're using that client, I don't even have my phone in front of me. Now, if you sent me an email and I'm using that Apple client, it counts as an open, even though I didn't even touch that email.
Yeah.
It's skewing the emails. Therefore, I always recommend looking at the click rate or the click to open rate. Most platforms will say the email was open if they clicked on it there. And then you look at the click to open rate and see what that is. I always say the job is not done until you're measuring conversions on the other side. If you have Google Analytics installed, you can look at conversions off of email or assisted conversions off of email. For me, I like to look at conversions from email, but for a majority of folks, I would say the click rate is probably the most important. And then also, I think a good KPI to measure is list growth. It'll stay and you'll grow, right? And if you're staying flat or only getting a couple subscribers a week, you're not doing something right, whether it's in your emails because people are leaving and you're not offsetting the amount of people that are leaving by the amount you're adding, or just the fact that you're not marketing enough and getting people to sign up.
Very cool. Good stuff. And you already touched on that. How do you collaborate with the rest of the marketing team. So basically you worked with them on how many conversions. So that's one way, because different people are going to want different things. And when you report them on open rates and the clicks, they may not necessarily care for that. But if you tell them from a conversion perspective, hey, this is how we contributed to conversion. And GA4 is pretty good for that. That's why they created a very data-driven conversion.
It's a little bit harder in GA4. I used to like Universal Analytics a little bit better, but yeah, you can still get it, but I'm not a big fan of GA4.
Yeah, they basically automated it for you. Like instead of you go figure out yourself, so, okay, email brought 0.5 conversion. Basically, it contributed 50% to the conversion. So I'm like, wait, why are you giving me 0.5? So basically, you and I like to geek out, but obviously some of the marketers don't. So for them, it's easier. For you and I, it's a little bit of a setback. And we talk about AI. Let's talk about like privacy and like you did mention that earlier about regulations and different places. How do you manage? And let's say if you're in US, different states might have different rules and regulations. How do you keep up with that?
Just do the right things all the time. In other words, like I said, permission-based email marketing. Just make sure you're getting that opt-in. Never have a pre-checked box on your website or on a form to buy something. If you're saying, hey, download this or watch this video, and you have a pre-checked box of sign up for our newsletter, that's not the way to go. It's not an explicit opt-in, right? You want to make sure that you're getting that permission and you're only sending to people that want your emails, because I get them all the time. There's some of these, I don't even know how I got on their lists, and I'm getting emails from them. I'm ignoring them. I'm deleting them. I'm marking them as spam. That's hurting their email deliverability. Yeah, a lot of these companies are saying that they don't want people to send to people that don't have the permission, and it's going to get stricter. A lot of states are probably going to come up with more of that, and making sure the unsubscribe is easy to get to. And Gmail started doing that at the top. Do you want to unsubscribe from this email? And now you should have for Yahoo, Gmail, Yahoo, and all the cohorts, you should have that unsubscribe link at the top so that people can find that. Because if you make it hard to find or hidden, again, hurts your deliverability, and then also means you're not meeting the legislation. I know years ago, spammers used to put the unsubscribe link in white text on a white background so you couldn't see it. It was there, but you couldn't see it. And then there's times where you unsubscribe and you still get emails from them for a while.
Oh, that annoys me the most. Yeah, it's like, I'm like, how many more times I have to unsubscribe? So the way I do it is when I unsubscribe, and then a week later when I get it again, then I block it. Yeah. Do you recommend having a different domain name for your email delivery, for your email campaigns? For example, our agency is Clarity Digital, the agency, but for our email marketing campaign, we send emails from claritydigital.net.
I don't think there's a reason to do that. Subdomains can be better. In other words, if you're sending out transactional emails, like for tracking purchases, stuff like that, you can use a subdomain for that. And then domain for, you'll say, your newsletter. This way, if there is something that happens, there is a little bit of isolation there. But the most important thing is brand consistency. And if you're using .com and .net, there's probably that same brand consistency. Just make sure that all your information, like the from information, and if you're using BIMI, which is a way to have your logo show up and say like Google on the left side, a lot of times you'll see a letter. If it's Best Buy, it'd be B. But if they have BIMI, it'll have the actual logo. It gives you more brand recognition and trust in the inbox. Just make sure it's set up on both, because if I'm, say, signed up for both .net and .com and I'm getting emails from both, but they look different, it may make me think one of them's phishing or something like that.
Very good. Thank you. This question that I have is really a question that CMOs often ask us as a marketing agency. We tend to focus more on organic and paid search and social and programmatic advertising, not so much email. We tend to consult on email. How should organizations, what type of relationship companies should have with agencies when it comes to email marketing? Is that something they should entirely do in-house, or is that something they can outsource, or is it a hybrid of both?
That's a great question. It's like with any agency consultant, if they get to know your business correctly, it can be a great relationship. If I don't have the bandwidth, but I do have the budget to hire someone to help me with email marketing, by all means, go ahead and work with a company because they may have graphic design resources, coding resources, more resources to use AI tools to help with subject lines and all that. It's just as long as they know your business and they're going to be able to move the needle for you, there's no reason to hesitate. But if let's say you are a 3-person company and you don't have a budget, but you have some bandwidth and you can go ahead and use tools like at iContact, which is great for small business. They have templates and they have images that you can use, and their editor's pretty easy. If you could put an email together and just read blogs and watch videos on best practices, yeah, sure, you can get away with that too. Then you're going to have larger companies like Fortune 500 where they have 30 people on their marketing team and they're probably hand coding all of their emails. There's tools out there that can help Litmus and Email on Acid, which show you what your email will look like in different platforms, like on an iPhone in Safari, or on a Mac on Safari, or on a PC in Chrome or something like that. Their cost is minimal, and it helps you make sure your emails render correctly and you can see what your readers like. I remember years ago when BlackBerry was like at the tail end of still being around, you would want to see what it looks like on a BlackBerry because it was harder to get your emails to render correctly on that. I don't know what the version of that is now for like Litmus or something, but it's probably a Windows 10 Outlook 2010 or something, right? Like making sure there's no what's called page break in there because it'll just put a white line through your images and stuff like that. But yeah, I think there's reasons to work with agencies that might understand your needs and be able to do a great job for your email campaigns.
Man, you brought up some memories. I used to work for Experian, and we had Cheetah Mail at our email service system. Yeah. What's the proper name for it? Email provider?
ESP.
Email service provider, yes. And I was on the marketing team. I was one of the few people that knew how to code. So I would code emails, and I had to test it on different platforms, and it was a pain in the neck because we were not responsive yet, and it just wasn't fun. I had to test how it looked like in like BlackBerry, as you mentioned. iPhone hadn't come out yet. How would it look like in desktop? Well, I think iPhone had just come out. But that reminded me that back in the days, the templates used to be very like graphic, and now they're going more towards simpler. I like simpler. What are some of your thoughts on that and the design of an email?
Yeah, I think that simple is better. They call it white or negative space. Apple does a great job with that, where if they're highlighting a product like a MacBook, it's an image of the MacBook and only a little bit of text and a buy now button. There's a lot of white space. It just allows you to absorb what's on there. I like a couple things, and most of my talks, I usually include this if I'm talking about design. Do what's called a squint test. Create your email, lean back from the monitor, squint, make it like blurry a little bit. Can you make out what's there? Is that a paragraph? Is that, a header? Is that an image? If it looks okay, you're probably doing okay. You can use something called the inverted pyramid if you have something simple to say, where you have a hero image at the top that's full width. Then you have your heading, which is a little bit more narrower, a little bit of text, a little bit more narrower than the buy button. It draws your eye downward. And I got called out on this once. I said, the humans read from left to right and down, but there's some languages that don't. Yeah, but there's some languages that don't. Yeah. They do it in different ways. But most people read from left to right and down. Mm-hmm. So if you have a lot of products, if you're a retailer, you can have images like blocks, like 1, 2, and 3, then another one at the bottom and some text. Your eye just keeps going down like a Z, right? And then it allows you to consume more of an email if it's a longer email. So there's tactics like that you can employ. But like I said, if you could say something in 20 words instead of 1,000 words, less is better.
Yeah, less is more, right? What do marketers learn more about all this stuff that we're talking about? Is there a central place for it? For example, in SEO, we have search engine land and Masa and all those places. On the email side, is there 1 or 2 publications that, or even it could be even a platform, a blog that you would recommend?
I definitely want to recommend Kickbox's blog. We have some great stuff. If you're looking for mostly deliverability and list cleaning, stuff like that, we'll have you covered there. Litmus is great, has a lot of great information, especially around design and just in general subject lines. There's a Slack group called Email Geeks. You can apply to get in there. There's a lot of discussion, and be careful what channels you go into there, because there's ones for coding and stuff. If you don't know how to code and go in there, you're going to have your mind boggled. But there's a lot of great discussions and a lot of experts there. And I belong to some Slack channels for SEO that's the same. But find Discords, find Slack groups, blog posts. There's a lot of videos out there that talk about how to do email marketing. If you're a WordPress user, next week I'm doing a webinar with Gravity Wiz. Just search for their YouTube channel and sign up for that or get the recording. We were enabling a way to, or they have a way to check for email addresses if they're valid in real time with with a WordPress form. And I'll be talking about email deliverability. So yeah, there's so much content out there. Or just go into your favorite AI tool of choice and say, teach me about email marketing. Give me a chapter today and then go back the next day and get another chapter and learn that way.
Or can we also DM you and do you consult or no?
Yeah, I'll happily talk to anyone about email marketing for a virtual coffee or whatever, or maybe more formal.
Yeah, I see your videos on LinkedIn a lot and I find it very beneficial. So keep them going, please, because I'm learning from them. I have this love and hate relationship with email, and because of the story I told you earlier, I was on the coding side and I just didn't have a lot of fun with it. But now I'm on the marketing side and I see the need for it. Closing thoughts. Do you like to discuss anything else that I may have left out that you think our audience would find beneficial?
I think we spoke about a lot, and I want to encourage people, if you're new to this or you got into a role where you have to do this or you're a small business owner, it's very important to use email. It allows you to reach out to someone whenever you want to, as long as you have good email deliverability. Have a conversation with them. You can inject the first name. It makes it feel like you're calling out their name. I think it's like a game to come up with great subject lines and have your emails read. Like I said, I think most people, for the most part, they're going to be willing to give you an email address to get on a newsletter or whatever you're sending out, and just give them what they want. Let them unsubscribe at any time. More importantly, don't forget to clean out people that haven't opened and clicked in a certain amount of time. In other words, maybe once a year, look at people who haven't opened and clicked an email in a year, send them an email or two and ask them to come back, however that looks. Use ChatGPT to help you with that. But after that, go ahead and remove them or use automation to automatically do that, because that does hurt your deliverability if you keep dead weight on your list, and there's a reason for that. But if you remove them, like I said before, they can always come back. But if you remove them, it'll help people that don't want your email, or maybe that I just bought something as a gift for someone and I don't really want to do business with you anymore. That's okay. And then also, I'm working on a talk now. What is the title for it? The Email Marketing Dating Game, Build Strong Multi-Channel Relationships, where I'm talking about using email with social media, PPC, and with SEO and all the other channels. Make sure you're integrating them. Ask your email subscribers to follow you on social media. Ask your social media followers to sign up for your newsletter. Make sure you're using PPC and SEO to drive people back to your website. Just fill out a form and get them on your email list. They all work together cohesively.
That's really great. I'm actually talking about omni-channel search marketing strategies, and this is even bigger, right? You include an email, and you could easily, in PPC, for example, you could easily add an ad extension, join a newsletter, and we've seen a good amount of opt-ins for that for one of our clients.
Good.
Cool. So these are all really good info. I really appreciate it. I do want to ask you a couple of personal questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
As a closing to our podcast, any favorite books or movies that you have enjoyed recently that you recommend?
I always chuckle a little bit when I get asked that question, because I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't really have a lot of time, and it's not something I'm into as much as I used to be. I like it was weird for me to watch the Super Bowl and sit in front of a TV for a little while. And books, I haven't really read books in a while. I always recommend Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, Right Hook, correlates to email, like value ask for the sale. But I want to say really what I'm into is podcasts mostly. The one I like the most is called Twit, This Week in Tech. And then there's another one called Mac Break Weekly from the same guy. But he has a lot of very experienced, knowledgeable people, and they talk about different tech things. And it's like news for tech and then what's going on. It's just great. It's like a 3-hour podcast, but yet every week I listen to it. It's awesome. That's probably my version of a book, is that podcast.
Yeah, I'll make sure to add that to my next time I ask somebody, because I'm the same way. I used to read a lot of books and I just don't have a lot of time. Same deal with TV. The TV is always on because of my kids, but then I don't know if I'm watching something. Cool. And when you're not working, what are you doing? What are you like? What are some of your hobbies?
And I think the book and TV thing is just my ADD. I just can't just sitting in something for so long. When I'm not working, I'm working, right? I'm a workaholic, right? I call myself a workaholic because I love what I do. I'm always creating content. A lot of people think, like, when they follow me on LinkedIn, they see all my videos, they think I'm doing that for work. Well, that's more me of personal branding, but also correlating what I do and trying to get people to use Kickbox. But yeah, I'm always creating content, blog posts, talks, because I'm a public speaker. I'm always developing content for that. And then doing videos. I just love to do video editing because I like to get my information out there and help people and educate them and inform them. I don't know if I'm entertaining them or not, but we'll find out about that. I'm into real estate now, doing a lot of that. And that's been fun. And that's a huge learning curve. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then not forced, but more willingly. They always say if your spouse is into something, you should be into it too. This year, I'll probably be getting into gardening.
Oh, wow. Cool. I love gardening. The house that I bought was just because of that. It was just, it had a backyard and there was a lot of potential. And that's one of the things I do. So I'm glad. It's really fun. And it's quite a opposite of what we do for a living because we deal with technology and we always sitting or whatever. And when you gardening, it's quite opposite. There's no phone, there's no technology, and you just using your hands. And actually, I was going to ask you a different question, but you and I met at Digital Summit, and I think you were talking at that conference. Are you going to any conferences this year, and are you going to be speaking at any of them?
I'm attending a few in the next few months, more for partners. It's going to meet up with our partners, network with them. One's in Whistler, Canada, which is north of Vancouver, which is going to be cool. Going to Melia Island, Florida. So it's like both of those are like a full day conference and the next day's experience. So that'll be fun. Yeah, I have some speaking opportunities almost lined up. I don't want to say definitely right now, but where it is, but I'll probably be going to a couple conferences in Austin and maybe Las Vegas. So keep an eye out. Follow me on LinkedIn for all that stuff and get some updates.
Cool. Just follow you on LinkedIn. Is that the best place to follow you?
Yeah. If you're going to reach out, I don't accept blind invites, but you will get a response from me because I'm a marketer, right? I'll respond. What's funny is actually I put a stat in there and I say, hey, I don't accept blind invites. I'd love to connect. Tell me why you want to connect. I'm open to having a call. The response to that is still about 40%. So a lot of people are just putting stuff out there just to get a number and then they don't even follow up. That's sad. I just mentioned this podcast and all that, and I may reach out. I still want to have a call with you, but I'd be happy to connect. If you want to go to the Kickbox website, kickbox.com, use our chat and then ask for me or say, Hank said I might be able to get a special offer on purchasing credits if I reached out, and we'll see what we can do for you and give you the best deal possible based on your need and go from there for that. But yeah, if you search for Hank Hoffmeier, I have a really good SEO for my name. I take up like the first 3 pages. You can find out where I am on all the social media channels and my website.
Hank, it's been very informative and a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time and enjoy your weekend. I know it's Friday, so please take some time off. Don't work too hard. I know you enjoy it, but have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to geek out.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good one.
You too.